Currently, there are a lot of businesses out there who are trying to explore how AI can benefit the human psyche, whether it's in our day-to-day world or in business. One of the organizations at the frontier of this is Mood.ai, and here to talk about their history, their journey as a founder, and to talk about Mood.ai is Dr. Nathan Jones.
Welcome, Nathan.
To welcome Nathan Jones. Nathan is a pioneering emotional researcher, TEDx speaker, and the founder of the Mood Institute.
Have you ever sat on your couch, grabbed your remote, turned on the TV, and gotten the fright of your life? Same song sounded a little bit like this. This world is deceitful. All it ever does is lie.
The analogy of color and emotion is so strong for me because what I've learned in my own recovery and healing and therapy work is that there's no such thing as a bad emotion. Right? We can be in the red zone feeling mad, or the blue zone feeling sad, or the green zone feeling glad. Traditionally, we've had these kind of literal textbook models of emotion, say, where this goes here, this is this. And they're always quite reductive. It just doesn't always quite fit our lived experience. But when we get to a point where we don't need a set model that's very reductive, there are tiny nuances that are being picked up, and we're kind of taking into account all these factors, whether it's weather or time of day, or even past traumas or personality. All these things can affect our own personal emotion model.
People opening up to even ChatGPT and other tools.
It's the number one use.
It is, the ChatGPT.
We're really trying to have it as almost like the wingman for a company and for an employer, where we're the third party saying, hey, we know it's always going to be contentious between employers and employees. It's a power dynamic.
AI will not destroy us. It will, however, expose who we truly are.
So much talk around how businesses can leverage agentic AI, and then using a lot of these tools to really kind of get better, productivity and outcomes. But yeah, there is a lot of wariness at the same time, particularly from these same people that care so much about humans and humanity, how that will affect the way that we do our work and the way that we get support.
How would you think that you would have used the tool like this if you were growing up now?
I would have used that tool to name the unnameable, to speak the things that I couldn't speak to anybody else into the world, and use that as a safe space to be seen and heard and understood. And this has always been a bit of shame for me, and I don't know whether you felt this, guys, but around being a jack of all trades, doing a lot of therapy, going in and talking about the things that I haven't had up until that point the courage to really unpack and look into. But what about my own words? What do I stand for and what lights me up? I seriously, how Simba got told that he killed Mufasa?
Yes.
I think I felt that I killed Mufasa in a lot of ways, where I had this shame of I'm a fuck up, I've got I'm not the person that I should have been, and I wasn't enough, and I had to leave. But
Mate, let's just get straight into it. The background and stuff before, we'll obviously talk about Mood.ai, but you've got a really interesting background, as Chris was telling me about. Music career before all of this kind of stuff, doing a lot of voice work. Yeah. What does that all mean for folks that might not have?
What does it mean?
What does it mean?
What is the meaning of your
Why did you
music?
do this? Like a parent questioning child's process. What was it like? What did you do?
So, my first question will be, we're on right now, are we? We're talking.
Yeah,
Because it was just you guys are so chill. I'm like, is this the pre-talk or is this the actual thing?
Just get into it.
We're in. I love the
We
style.
had a conversation last week with someone, and we were so in the moment that we're just like, we're already recording. Don't worry about it. There's no official start.
That's
we're
so
just
good.
jumping straight in.
I love it. That was just right in. Look, so what a great question. What does it all mean? I sometimes look at my own life and trajectory, and I ask that question, what am I doing in my life? Where am I going?
Psychoanalyze your background.
Seriously, what is this all about? And I think Steve Jobs said it best, right? When he talks about this whole notion of you can't really connect the dots looking forward. You kind of have to only do that by looking back, and then you're like, oh, that kind of makes sense. That's kind of why that had to happen, and that's why it took me here. So music is just such a curveball that I'm like, how is this fitting into what I'm doing and what I'm working on? But yeah, a few things. First of all, I grew up really, really shy, and I just didn't love
Adelaide, right?
Adelaide. Shyville,
where in Adelaide?
Little town. Well, in the northwestern suburbs.
Okay.
My dad was a minister of a church. We lived next door, to the church, and just grew up in this very, very plain, average, on the side of a main road.
Please tell me you were a church singer as well.
Well, I was.
He was.
This is the thing.
I was too.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
Oh my
I was
God.
choir, but I was because we were Anglican church, so we had like.
You were an Anglican
Yeah,
church.
the-
I like immediately I understand so much. And we were Anglican, it was more like kind of middle of the road, like kind of evangelical, but not really,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
Church of Christ. But yeah, like I think music was such a key part of that, because even though I didn't really feel very seen or heard or understood by my parents growing up, you know, they had a lot of things of their own past to deal with, and a lot of their own traumas, no doubt, with 6 kids, you know, trying to manage and juggle. But for me, like heading off into the church next door,
Wow.
6 kids, 5 boys, 1 girl. I used to
Whoa.
kind of just jump on the piano.
Is the girl the last one? Is that a
No,
girl?
she's number 2.
Oh,
So,
that's interesting.
yeah.
Because usually you'd think that, like, I've seen stuff like that where it's like, oh, like 5 or 4 and 1 girl, and it's like
right.
the girl's
One
the last.
I think maybe they were trying for another go. Exactly. It's like losing on the roulette wheel, but you just keep going until you're like,
Double
okay,
down.
Betting on black.
this one's for the mortgage. Here we go. But yeah, just jumping across next door to the church, playing and singing, like it was actually a way of, it's almost like therapy, right? Like understanding how I feel, finding my voice, being able to like almost somatically like speak something out, sing it out, and connect with this whole notion of like, how do we label and understand how we feel, but then how do we regulate that, be in relationship with others, make sense of our narrative? So music's always been really important for me, and I think for the longest time I'm like, maybe I'm a pop star. And I kind of had a development deal with Sony Music for a second, and yeah, tried to really kind of push this idea of like, maybe
You got Artist of the Year in 2004 as well. Like,
your research is on point.
Yeah,
Music goes 2004. Were you
2004?
born then? I mean, that was a long time
I
ago.
was at uni. I was listening to
I was in first year uni.
Yeah,
You
right.
were second year?
Second year.
Third year?
Yeah, we'll figure it out.
Figure it out.
Yeah,
It was
Let's
my
not talk about how
Fresh some numbers.
it was my second stint at uni.
second still. Oh, okay.
2000 graduate, so I
Yep.
did a few years, went to work for a bit, and then went back to uni. So yeah. But like, I was listening to music at the time, and I was looking back. I'm like, oh my god, you've got a SoundCloud. This is so cool.
So funny. I'm gonna have to discover that SoundCloud.
I'll send you the-
I don't
I'll
even
send
think
you
I have access to my
Sorry?
music at the moment. I've
Kyle,
had this
it's
so
like
long.
if you don't mind.
Tell me.
You have your Christmas songs in it?
Can you send me a link?
I'll send you.
I was
Perfect
literally
timing.
All your
playing.
Christmas song and your first album is all there. Yeah.
I was
Perfect
li-
timing because it's like Christmas.
It is coming into
It
Christmas.
is.
Yeah.
I was literally talking to someone last night. I'm like, did you ever know I did a Christmas album? And I'm like, I have no idea how to listen to it because I'm traveling light at the moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Minimalism. I'm like, I don't have access
Thought
to it.
Spotify for sure. And then I was deep in Google and I was like, wait a second. You know what keeps a whole history of songs? SoundCloud. So I was like,
It's not even-
there you were.
Not even MySpace can really hold this anymore.
No,
It's like
no.
they've kind of gone,
That
you
was
know,
big
they've
back then as well.
drifted
That
off.
was-
Yeah, but SoundCloud's still around.
Did you put your own music on your own MySpace page at the time?
I probably did, mate, because, you know, shameless self-promotion and still doing it, right? I mean, you go from like music to entrepreneurship
Yeah.
and we're still trying to spruik our stuff.
But you got to do that. Like, it's not like people that like are chefs at work and stuff, and then their partner's like, "Oh, how pretentious of you cooking at home when you cook at work." We don't do that. So of course,
Yeah.
you know,
So true.
You're taking your classy work back into the kitchen. What are you doing?
yeah.
Get out.
Dare you. I dare you.
But that's really, really cool and like such a great experience. And going back to the Steve Jobs thing, I think, you know, it's important to have these different and varied careers when that you bring into tech. It's not, tech is not the essence and the end goal. Tech is there to serve other goals and stuff. When you combine it with music and the things that you've learned throughout your career, and we'll get into that more, like, I think that's where the real power comes from, you know, rather than being uni focused.
Exactly. I mean, there's always been a bit of shame for me, and I don't know whether you felt this, guys, but around like being a jack of all trades, right? Because the whole thing was like jack of all trades, master of none.
And it's not even the full quote, you know that, right?
Well, I have heard.
Yeah,
Do you know the
actually-
full?
Jack of all trades, master of none, but better to be that than master of none. Something like that.
Interesting. And we use the first couple of lines and use it as a weapon against people like jack of all trades, master of none.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of, I don't know if you've read the book Range by, I think it's David Epstein.
Okay.
But yeah, his whole thesis in the book is like, what about if being specialists as we're kind of trained to be? I mean, because it is nice to have that real niche focus and you can kind of say, this is what I do. But what if range, you know, being, you know, a man, woman, person of many talents, what if that's the thing that helps us connect those dots, as Steve Jobs says? What if that's the thing that says, I had, I guess in my case, music and a voiceover career, and then kind of heading into entrepreneurship and academia. Like, what if that isn't someone that just doesn't know what they're doing? Which, by the way, it is. What if it's someone also, and what if it's someone that can draw on multiple disciplines and bring something that is of value that perhaps hasn't been able to be seen by someone who is more traditionally a specialist in their field?
It's an interesting thing is that I'm facing this problem right now in the sort of path that I'm choosing when I'm trying to find certain jobs and roles and things, where that master of it, kind of that person who spreads a wide across everything, can sometimes nip you in the backside, where I have huge amounts of experience across UX development, product management, product development, tech, AI. Is like, I've done everything across the board when it comes to, without being a coder.
Yeah.
And you go into roles, say if you're looking for product roles, they're like, no, we want someone who has 10 years of product. But has that helped you guys? Like, why is this role open? Like, surely if you had 10 years, bro, there's someone who can fill it. And they're like, oh, we just haven't found the right person. I'm like, don't you think there's a reason for that?
Yeah.
Like, have that you're missing that creative element where the experience across the board is actually more powerful than that one.
Than that one thing. Yeah.
They value the specialization, but they need the generalization by the sound.
That's it.
I think so. And I think where the future's going, I mean, with all things AI, like Chris, if coding is the only thing missing from your skill set, like, hello, vibe coding, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure on your relationship with that, but I've been dabbling
we
a little bit.
We love it. Like it.
Yeah.
Certain people love it.
Certain people, I know. Some people
When it does.
I can't go into like a finance thing where there's huge amounts of security and right. But like, hey guys, I can vibe code your whole
code my
system.
way out of it.
Come on,
So,
all right.
Yeah.
You can prototype at the very least, and then when you do like pick up those extra skills, vibe coding plus talking to AI as to understanding like, okay, why, and the guardrails that some of these vibe coding tools have, like security issues that a lot of people have when it comes to vibe coding.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Tools like Bolt and Lovable, maybe Bolt does it more, actually provide you with a layer where it says, well, based on what you built, here's the security issue. Do you want us to fix it? Like, yeah, so the guardrails are there. Like all these complaints, oh, it doesn't do this, it doesn't. Give it a bit of time and it does. So I'm glad that you're getting in the vibe coding. We're very positive on it.
Yeah, nice. And it's still evolving, and there's things to be aware of. But I think it does speak to range, right? Because when you're vibe coding, you are almost like, you're like Tom Cruise at the Minority Report dash.
You are vibing.
But it's this massive overview.
I need that database over there.
Yeah.
What do you mean you won't talk to it?
Exactly. And that comes from knowledge, life experience, and bringing through all these experiences and making it happen.
We're presenting next in 2 weeks at Gen AI Labs, which is this event. We're doing a live vibe coding
session
battle in front of each other. Like, it's like an education thing to get people understanding with the prompts and all that type of stuff. At the same time, we'll create something live on stage, which can go either really well or go really, really bad. We'll see how it's.
Both are entertaining.
Never do something. Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. So we either get that was great, or that was hilarious. Failed participant.
Yeah. It'll be good. It'll be really good, and we should get you along to that if you're around.
Oh, so keen.
You are you kind of touched on it. You also did some voiceover work at Nickelodeon, like Channel 10.
Yeah.
That step from like music into voiceover work. And then I'm going to draw another connection at the moment.
So interesting. I think like voiceover is just another, it's just another weird data point in some ways. Like even stranger that, as I mentioned, growing up, I was quite shy. Like my parents always said to me, like, never get a job in anything that requires communication because like I used to stutter and mumble. And I think looking back, it's funny, like when we do our own kind of personal work, I realized that a lot of that was because I didn't really feel worthy of being seen, or heard or understood in that way. So you kind of like suppress and mask yourself and all that kind of jazz. But yeah, it was always funny, like finally, like, getting to that point, because I used to record my own radio shows in private when I was younger, and used to just like, I actually used to record.
Podcasts were cool.
Before they were cool. Still my own parties on cassette,
exactly.
bro. It's great. And I actually used to take the tape recorder, because we weren't allowed to watch commercials in our house.
Okay.
Because my father was like minister, and he's like, commercialization. It's the pathway to hell. And so I used to record like the commercials, turn it down really low on the TV and hold the tape recorder up there. And I used to listen to it under my pillow at night.
No way.
Which is so strange. Like I was a disturbed little child. But I used to listen to these like,
It's
you
not like
know,
you recorded a no show or something.
yeah,
I
no,
recorded.
it was commercials.
That was commercial in your house.
A no-no show. Yeah, no, commercials were the
changing our name.
biggest no-no show because it was like,
My
yeah.
family would. I couldn't watch The Simpsons.
You could, yeah, I couldn't
I
watch The
couldn't watch
Simpsons
The
either.
Simpsons either.
I couldn't watch The Simpsons. It was
Disrespectful.
So all my friends
Privilege.
would watch it.
To your
They'd talk
parents.
about it. And
Yeah,
everything.
yeah. Wasn't allowed to watch Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, same. Ninja Turtles was a thing.
Can we start a
look back
therapy
now.
group?
I know. I think it's
This
like
is like, hi, my name's Nathan. I'm a child of a strict family.
yeah,
People
that's-
back now, and it's just like that looks so corny, like those outfits and those things. Like,
Yeah.
why would you be worried about that? But
I know.
it
Back
was a
then, it
thing.
was like, yeah, it's crazy, yeah.
Forbidden communications. Speaking of like, it was music for me, but I would play on my Sony Walkman, my see-through Sony Walkman, so you could see the mechanism and stuff. I'd have it playing with, you know, the wired earbuds and stuff, like actually under the pillow as well. So not weird.
Thing where you're like
weird.
listening in.
Yep.
But you weren't listening to commercials.
No.
So, okay, well,
That
there
was
we go.
weird.
That was
That was
very
weird.
weird.
That's
Let's admit that was weird. But the crazy thing is, I used to notice like the inflection in the voice. I think it helped me with communication where I'm like, man, you've got emotion in this. Like a shampoo commercial is different from a promo for a,
100%.
That's a
like,
really good observation.
coming up next. You know, you won't believe what will happen. And so it's just strange that when like it got to the point of like figuring out what I'm doing with my life, it was kind of no wonder that the work that I mostly did was for like MTV coming up next, brand new Jersey Shore. For Nickelodeon, next on the Kids' Choice Awards.
Coming up next on
Coming up
Jersey
next,
Shore.
brand new SpongeBob SquarePants.
own me. Like, you know, and you
Don't miss the drama, the adventure, the action. But like different
I'm gonna put these
brands.
stiffers. This is great.
Different brands have different personalities. Like
They do, yeah.
MTV's more cool. Like they don't want you to sound like a voiceover, but it's kind of like in
like
the
upwards inflection. Like
kind of yeah, exactly. It's more in like the yellow zone when we look at emotion and kind of giving this
Oh,
thing.
there we go.
And then like when I did like it was Channel 11 for like 7 years, and so when I used to do the Neighbours, you know, stuff, it was always like coming up next, something will rock Ramsey Street, but will change everything forever.
I love it.
Only on Neighbours, next on 11. It's a little bit more like, okay, you're down in this kind of darker blue zone,
Yep.
right? And so it's just like all of this stuff really like helped me get a little bit closer to understanding how do we understand these different zones of emotion,
Yeah,
and
we
how do we communicate that? How does it reflect on us from like a broad like pop culture setting? How do we understand these different zones and ways that we move through different emotional states?
Can I just, say, like, because we run, Chris and I run an association, a blockchain association. We do a lot of stuff in data science. We've handed that over, but and AI, and you know, great stuff going on there still. But like in the blockchain space, these events that we run where we have speakers, and you can see if the voice isn't good, the audience drops off, even if there's quality content. So the power in the inflections and really, okay, the audience is dying, so I've got to like pick up, you know, and I've got to do things. And like just having the empathy to see that kind of stuff, but not just empathy that makes you want to do it. The observation that you talk about there and seeing what will actually drive it, that's interesting, right?
Well,
'Cause we've seen that too.
I'd love to share. I'll share with you if you haven't seen it. There's a TED Talk, and I know you've done TED Talks before. Where this guy, he gets up, and the TED Talk is about nothing. And it's, I can't remember the name of it, but he does a TED Talk about nothing. And his whole intent is to display how important inflection and excitement in high talk. He's wearing like fake glasses. He's like, but I'm wearing these because I sound intelligent. And he puts them back on. It's just, and he does this amazing thing where he continues like, I'm going to build up to something. And you think I'm going to talk about something. And maybe I will, but I'm not.
And you're on the edge of your seat.
And you're on the edge of the seat. The whole talk, 15
saying
minutes, he's just saying nothing. And
the premise of Seinfeld.
it is so.
It's a show about nothing.
That's it.
Isn't it fascinating though, right?
It is,
and,
isn't it?
And like, it's easy to kind of get so jaded on one sense that it's like, okay, if you can just manipulate people with your voice, why even worry about content? But I mean, content still does matter.
Adds another level. Right?
It does, but it just, you've probably seen, and this has been debunked many times, but there's like the rule of like whether, you know, voice versus body language versus content. And I forget the numbers, but it's like 33, 67, I can't even remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, the content.
Is it like
It's
70%
always-
of all statistics are made up on the spot?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. That's what's meant to be based on science, but it's questionable. But yeah, it's a very small percentage that at least in this particular study where content is able to be remembered after the fact, it's usually either the body language, which is the highest part of the pie chart, or the voice is a very big part of it too.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
So what drove you there? So you've got you were shy, you were nervous, like growing up, you felt a little lacking in confidence.
Yeah.
What gave you the confidence though to step into putting yourself actually out there in a commercial standpoint? Like you're out there performing, you're singing, and even to get your voice out there. What gave you that confidence and that step to do those things?
That's such a good question, Chris. And I think, I don't know, like when it comes to those moments, like if our life was a movie, right? We have those moments in our narrative and that hero's journey of like, do we run from the pain and the wound, or do we run towards? And I've done both in my life, obviously, and I think a lot of us can relate to both. But I think for the longest time did run away. I think with and you'd be able to relate with, like when you're growing up in, say, a religious environment, there is, for all the good that religion and faith can do and does do, there is, as a kid, when it's not your own faith, there is a feeling of suppression and being pushed down. And I grew up gay, but couldn't say anything to my family. So that was something that was just another layer of suppression. Like, I don't even feel the feelings that I think I might be feeling, but I don't even want to admit it to myself. So there's a lot of that kind of, that feeling of being pushed down. And I think for me, when I see that choice of, do we run away from the pain or do we run towards it? That's been my pain of like not being seen or heard or understood for the one I truly am. So even though it is the most terrifying thing for me to do, to have authenticity, oh my God, it comes naturally to some people. It's so hard for me to stand up and say, yeah, I wanna be seen. But for me, it's part of my own work, and it's the eventual space of stepping out and doing the thing is, I feel, part of my own narrative. Not to have main character syndrome, but for my own kind of like, for my own story, it's like, man, it's not the thing I naturally feel drawn towards, but it's the thing I know I need to do in order to possibly heal in the way that I know I need to heal. I feel like I do have insights and things that are living in me that could make the world better. So how do I say yes to courage each day rather than saying yes to fear? So my daily practice, and I'm still learning how to do it. So any tips you guys have of leaning into courage each day, you let me know.
Still learning, my friend. It's
I think, one of the interesting things, it's not advice or anything, but I've just found that given when you've had a lot of conversations that, for most of us it's ChatGPT.
Yes.
But given all of that, when you get it to do things like, maybe you've had to do speaking spots and stuff, and you might have your already made bio, or you might just ask it like, tell me about myself, given the stuff that we've spoken about and the things you've seen. And it's sure can be sycophantic, but sometimes you do need a bit of that to actually see, well, I've got value.
Totally.
I've got clever conversation. I am, depending on who's doing it, like I'm sure there's like some cooked folks out there that are doing really conspiracy theory stuff, and it's just going to agree with you. But I think for
that's
the most part,
where you type. If you go in asking open, you'll get value. If you
will.
if
you go
in
with closed
negative,
questions,
you get negative response.
It's true, hey. And I almost think ChatGPT is, in some ways, it kind of like, depending on how we use it, but at least for me, it almost speaks to me in the way that we probably should be speaking to ourselves. Like, it is very kind, probably too kind sometimes.
Even if I'm
a great idea, you should do that.
it's like a good aunt. Like maybe your parents don't always agree with you, but you've got a favorite aunt.
You do. You can go to Aunt Betty and she's just, she's with you all the way.
That's it.
But it's just like, we're not very kind to ourselves sometimes. And Chatty, as I call my, we all have different names for our, but Chatty's.
As long as you're not saying it like Boris Johnson, former, mayor or whatever of London and Prime Minister. I think you got to chat GPT. Like, don't say it that way. Just
GPT.
Like, it's exactly like that.
Okay.
Something I've noticed, speaking with a lot of entrepreneurs over the last many months, is that there's the sort of the key elements that I'm seeing around personalities and their ability to do the things that they do. And like, there's a few things around experience, around ego, in a positive manner, and around knowledge that really drive people into being able to become who they are, whether they start off young or whether they start off later in life. And the other one I've noticed is that sort of hero journey as well, that stepping out of whether it's a shell or overcoming something, an obstacle or experience. And I feel like that is like, it's this extra level of becoming who they want to become, or chasing some kind of dream tends to help shape who their entrepreneurial spirit as well. So I definitely see that in yourself and what you've done.
Yeah, you've learned a lot of lessons
Yeah.
from that sort of thing that people just going through your traditional, let's call it traditional, like go to uni, get employed, just work in that career and like try to progress through, don't get to experience until they try to break the mold.
Yes.
So you broke the mold early because you had to, because you had this needy to by the sound of
Yeah,
it.
the longing. Isn't it funny? I mean, back to this kind of movie analogy. If we watch a movie that just has no through line and someone kind of grows up, there's no struggle.
Yeah.
It's just not going to make a great
Exactly.
movie. But like,
he's done a normal life.
totally, hey, like that's not going to get such a low Rotten Tomatoes score. Right?
like the
It's
guy-
not going to.
The privileged guy
Exactly.
continues a privileged life.
And now they haven't. There's no narrative. But I think these like narratives where, I mean, I've spoken with script writers before, and their whole mindset of like when we're writing for a character, the aim of the game is to put them into a tree and start throwing things at them. And then finally they'll get down.
my
But it's just
God.
like that's the tension and the pain and the release. But I think you're right, Mark. I mean, the best stories and the best people. I can even hazard a bet that people watching, listening to the podcast, there are people that kind of skew into an entrepreneurship mindset. They're about how can we use new and emerging tools to overcome and shape the future and reality. They're usually people that have come up against adversity. They know what it's like to be beaten down, set aside, like not seen and heard and known for the people they truly are.
Exactly.
They're the ones that do remarkable things. And it's crazy that you'd never wish your worst traumas on someone. I'd never wish that on you. I think you guys to know you wouldn't, you were not even on your worst enemy. And yet it's so weird that we look back on the most traumatic things and we're like, would I change it? Like,
Who would I be today without that?
Totally.
without
It
that
feels
moment, right?
sacrilegious to say it, but maybe I wouldn't. Maybe can I say grateful for the trauma?
Yeah.
And you could never say that in the moment when things are chaotic and like,
there's no
but it's just like, isn't that weird, right? Life's kind of hardships, they give us a narrative to overcome and they help us do great things.
So that like incredible, the love the hero journey. You've taken that then into, you went into university, did a PhD in psychology.
Yeah.
What inspired you to cross that, to take that leap, particularly coming from, music and, doing the voiceover work where, as we just discussed, there is a huge influential psychological element to the things that you do that influence people in certain ways, right? Whether it's song, music, whether it's talking, inflections, personality, like putting yourself in front of the camera, performing in certain ways. So talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hey, I think I reached the point with, doing music, which was great and fun and hard. I mean, like, when even like Grammy Award winners, I was working with artists in New York who like have incredible careers, but they still can't really afford to pay you to produce with them. So it kind of the writing was on the wall for me in that way. Where I'm like, I love this stuff, but maybe not my career. But yeah, I began to sense, like particularly reading scripts for a lot of networks, I was like, man, there's so many great words here. And, it's fantastic to be able to kind of put those inflections and bring other people's words to life. But I'm like, what about my own words? Like, what do I stand for and what lights me up?
Yeah.
And at that time I was doing a lot of therapy as well, just going in and talking about the things that I haven't had up until that point the courage to really unpack and look into. And I'm like, maybe I want to be a therapist, and maybe I want to start finding the words that I want to say rather than reading other people's words. And that really took me into this space of doing a Bachelor of Behavioral Studies initially, which was super interesting, and just diving in and geeking out on all things psychology. And then that pulled me into doing an honours year at the University of Adelaide. So I moved back to Adelaide for that, which is my hometown. And I also felt like that was a little bit of a hero's journey moment for me as well. Of like, it's like in The Lion King. It's like
Where's my
Simba.
parade?
Totally. I seriously, how like Simba got told that he killed Mufasa.
Yes.
I think I felt that I killed Mufasa in a lot of ways, where I had this shame of like, I'm a fuck up. I've got like, I'm not the person that I should have been, and I wasn't enough, and I had to leave. But just going back to that, that childhood place, and, going with a new integration, like kind of being someone that was more secure in who I am, with a bit more understanding and knowledge. It's really healing to be back there, and healing to do this honors year and then getting into, that was in music and emotion. And then that kind of opened this whole kind of notion of emotional intelligence in general. How do we better navigate these parts within ourselves? And what do I wish that I had when I was trying to do my own work? What's the compass and the direction of like, okay, we're feeling this way, we need to do this for ourselves. We're this way with this relationship, we need to bring these tools. Like, how do we use these kind of very academic and cognitive skills of emotional intelligence? How do we experience them in ways that move us and that we can feel and track and understand? So that became the PhD, and then through a lot of that, there was just a lot of the realization that we need new tools to help us navigate the way we feel each day. So how do we use that, whether it's at work or at home or in our everyday lives and relationships? How do we use these tools to better understand ourselves and better understand others?
According to Wikipedia, it says here that with your thesis, it gave the first
Wikipedia.
empirical. This is the first time we've done this.
I love it.
According to Wikipedia.
I've never seen this. Yeah, that's new. That's a new one.
Your
Check
thesis.
that page.
Yeah.
We got to make sure this is right?
Yeah,
Because, it gave the first empirical demonstration that lyrics have an effect on felt emotion above and beyond the actual sound of music. So it's not just the sound, but like the actual lyrics. Like,
That's right.
what did that like? Yeah.
Well, we actually did a study where, and this was the real connecting the dots again of like different worlds colliding. I was in with my supervisor trying to figure out how we create a study to test this idea that lyrics matter. Because I've always been a lyrics guy. Like it's almost like I've got playlists for different, rather than kind of having genre playlists, I've got like a perseverance playlist or an acceptance playlist or a disappointment. Like I have different themes and emotions. So I listen to it and it activates me to make a better choice.
relate to that.
And so I kind of, you do, amazing.
100%.
So good.
Sorry,
And,
I'm a sound guy.
You're a sound guy?
sound matters
I
as
think
well,
there's two
right?
folks. Like there's the lyrics folks and there's the sound folks.
Totally, but they both matter, right? I think there's an intersection. And I guess my question was like, what is this intersection? And so we're like, how do we test that? And a lot of the other studies were kind of using existing songs, but they kind of say, okay, we're going to play a song by Rihanna, but then we're going to compare that to a song by Michael Bublé, and we'll see. But it's like, well, they're different songs. You're comparing, apples and oranges. And so I'm like, the only way we could do this is to create brand new songs. And so we did 3 songs, one that was in this kind of yellow zone of vitality, one that was in this kind of chill, light blue cyan zone of, what do they call it? I believe the word was, oh my God, it's been so long since I've looked at this. Vitality, sublimity is the kind of clinical word.
Yep.
And then another one called unease, which was this kind of dark magenta zone. So we had these 3 kind of different zones that captured the whole spectrum of like some of the literature around emotion and music, what Mark loves, like the kind of the music, the sound, the score. But then we're able to do both a positive version and a negative version of each of these songs. So we had like, in each word, I found the most positive words in the English language based on another study, and the most negative words in the English language, and literally wrote songs around it, but substituted the most positive word with the most negative word. So it changed the meaning, but our participants didn't know. And so they listened to these kind of in random orders. The positive version had an instrumental as a palate cleanser, and then the negative version, some didn't even realize that the lyrics had changed. But we're getting them to rate their emotions after each one, and there was a significant statistical difference between the different emotional states. And so we're like, hey, we did this massive prank on people. Some got it, some didn't, but it was just a way of actually getting this kind of like, almost like blind study of the effect of music on emotion, and how do these lyrics affect the way we feel above and beyond the music.
It aligns with like the sort of the thing that I buy into, which is words matter, but so do emotions. It's like, or intent. So it's like you could be, I mean, the English language, the Australian language is a perfect example where it'd be like, hey, sea bag. It's like, I said something really dark, but the emotion and the intent wasn't there. Whereas Abba was like, you're a sea bag.
Yeah.
Like completely different.
It's so different.
So the the way the language is
Bleep
used.
it out. Just say the word here. Like,
It's too much effort. Too much effort.
Fine.
People, Australians understand.
No, exactly.
Have you ever seen, you guys know what we're talking about, but have you seen, I can't remember which was it, Jimmy Fallon or one of those, they did like, I forget what the segment was called, but they would bleep, this normal news segment or normal thing that's being shown, but because they would bleep out certain parts, it sounded like it was saying something worse than it was.
Yeah, but it was the same.
So
thing.
good.
So
Good. But it's all contextual, right? I think that's the thing
course.
about psychology in general. Like, I love a good framework, and so I would love to be able to go in and say, this belongs here, this is this, but it's always contextual, and everything,
And context is like
Listen.
fluid. It feels like it just moves from like in the same situation, someone's context is very different to another and can rapidly change. So it's like
Totally.
it always needs to get taken into account is my
Exactly.
thing. So yeah, I agree with you
I
there.
think, AI can really help in this
Yes,
space, right?
yes.
Because traditionally we've had these kind of literal textbook models of emotion, say, where this goes here, this is this.
Put into
And
this
they're
box.
always quite reductive. Like, I mean, it just doesn't always quite fit our lived experience. But when we get like to a point where we don't need a set model that's very reductive, there are tiny nuances that are being picked up, and we're kind of taking into account all these factors, whether it's weather or time of day, or even past traumas or personality. All these things can affect our own personal emotion model, and so it's an exciting time to be in where we're not relying on these very ultimately reductive models. We can actually have something like AI or models that are kind of personalized and customized, tell us more about ourselves that we otherwise couldn't learn from a textbook.
So true.
Yeah.
Where did so you mentioned it with the magenta and you used colors. So where did the color schematics come into?
That's so interesting. Do you know, I was actually in another entrepreneurship competition back in the day. I think it was 2019 through the University of Adelaide. They've got a great ecosystem down there, and I've ended up lecturing in their flagship course, which is called eChallenge. And the whole premise is to go through it and to build a product in 12 weeks. And the product that I worked with my teammate at the time, he was in kind of sound design and was obviously very passionate about music and psychology. And we thought, how do we create a platform where instead of just listening to music, music listens to you?
Huh?
Mic drop, that was our pitch. Imagine music that listens to you.
No, you can do the proper voice.
Exactly.
In a world.
In a world where music lives within you. And so,
I love it. That's so.
that's probably the sole reason why we won. We had all the big novelty checks. We got the Social Innovation Award, and we won, a lot of cash and prizes, which was fantastic. But we really came up against the situation of like, well, how do we get this from music is so emotive, right? How do we get from a cognitive thing of like, I'm feeling this, so I need this, and inserting it? How do we use an interface that relies just on something that's so intuitive, where we almost feel it before thinking it? And color is kind of that, right? Color is this way of like, it's almost like, I think the analogy of color and emotion is so strong for me, because what I've learned in my own recovery and healing and therapy work is that there's no such thing as a bad emotion, right? We can be in the red zone feeling mad, or the blue zone feeling sad, or the green zone feeling glad. That same analogy applies for like color. It's actually, on this display here, you've got RGB, right? The red, the blue, and the green. And yet we get a whole spectrum of colors. And I think emotions like that, right? Whether you're feeling, the madness or the sadness or the gladness, you blend that together and the whole spectrum belongs. And as soon as we start removing a color, like I don't like red, I don't like feeling high tension, the whole model breaks. And so like all emotions belong and all colors belong, but how do we present that in a way that's non-judgmental? We're not shaming someone that like, boys can't feel sad or girls can't feel mad. All of it belongs. We need to just locate it, understand it, then accept it, then do the next best thing, which in the case of this platform was music. And so that's really kind of shaped a lot of that thinking of like, how do we use something that's taking the trouble with words away, and and again, context. If I'm upset, am I in the red zone feeling mad, or am I in the blue zone feeling sad? Like, words aren't really great at locating that emotion, but if we're able to use something that's a little bit more subliminal, but still grounded in data that has three-dimensionality, I think that's exciting.
All emotions matter. That's a thing. And also like the people that have synesthesia that see in color, they'd be like, well, duh, of course,
I know.
like colors are the thing. Like we've known it.
Totally.
But what about like when it comes to folks that have and 1 in 7 males have this color blindness?
Color blindness. It's interesting.
How does it?
They're emotionless.
They're emotionless.
There's no red or green. It's just
They're emotionally colorblind. It's so funny. Do you know they have done studies around colorblindness, and there is, funnily enough, like you begin to adapt when you have a deficit. Just in colorblindness, when you're looking at like an emotional, like a color gradient rather, there is enough distinction in some ways to be able to kind of pick differences. But you're right. It's it is. it is a little bit discriminatory for those 1 in 7 men. But I think I think the analogy still stands, whether or not you can kind of use it in that way as a tool. But we do like to pair it also with emojis. In my research, we found that color alone is actually good. Emojis themselves as a way of emotional marker are better. But we did another model in our statistical analyses with a color plus emoji model, and that was the best. So they're kind of better together. So we try to use other cues to make sure that if someone does have, whether it's color blindness or even cultural confusion, where it's like, maybe this color isn't the right thing for me, we do have a second.
Red is good in my traditional.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
lucky, right? So we do have additional secondary markers to try to make sure we're measuring what we need to measure.
Okay. Have you heard of the 8 levels of consciousness?
I have.
They're
Is
heavy
with the
based-
color.
They're based on the color.
No one talks about this. No one talks about
I have a friend who he's got a business that looks at going into organizations and trying to optimize them for experiences, and like a lot of it is how their business is positioned in this sort of color gradient. I was wondering if there was any correlation in the thinking around the color scheme to those 8 levels.
Not intentionally, no.
Not intentionally. So there's like start at the bottom of beige was like the survival mode. Then you go into purple with safety and power, order, success, all the way up to turquoise, which is like holism, which no one really says. It's like Buddha. So I think there's one above which they don't talk about, which is white, which is like enlightenment. Wow. I think when you go beyond that, but that
makes sense. Do you know what's funny? Like a lot of our research with the color stuff, it was really just asking thousands of people. What colors relate, and we were able to we did it in an interesting way where we were able to kind of use the RGB model, but then blend, like average the red scores, the green scores, the blue scores, and locate it in 3D space. So it was like an average of all of the colors blended together. And so it was kind of data driven in that way, but we do find things like, turquoise, for instance, is linked very closely with serenity and tranquility.
Wow.
And white, funnily enough, or at least lightness in a RGB model, lightness is correlated with higher valence, higher kind of pleasantness, and darkness. So the darker colors are located with, or at least associated with lower valence. So I think there is probably some crossover.
Makes sense.
And I think just intuitively we have these associations, which is weird.
So from there, you leapt into starting one of your first businesses before Mood AI. You had your Mood Institute.
That's right. Yeah.
Talk to me about what happened there. What was the
Awesome. It's been so fun and eye-opening. A lot of that was just taking the research. I never wanted to be. I love academia. Love the uni I was at, very research-driven, sandstone, like Harry Potter university. But I always felt I never want to be stuck within these walls. Like I want to be doing my whole PhD in conjunction with the Adelaide Business School as well, like jumping across the road and working out of Think Lab, the incubator there.
Awesome.
What Mood Institute's been so good with is, even through my PhD, I was still doing a lot of teaching and training in businesses about how we better understand and locate these different zones in ourselves and others. And I was really lucky to do a lot of work with some great companies and speak with a lot of leaders and the people about how we kind of have these conversations every day of figuring out where I'm at, where you're at, and getting more what they call emotional granularity in the ways that we feel. So that's been great. And what I've actually found is that it's been really like 4 or 5 years of research and development in building a new way of looking at the way we feel at work every day. So it's been great for kind of bringing the research to life in a way that's not just caught up in an institution, but it's also been very helpful for me in seeing how do people relate to these concepts and what might we need to build into a product if this is going to solve for the problem of helping people feel better, literally feel better at work. So it's been helpful.
And that helped transition into what became Mood AI.
Mood AI, it has very much so.
The foundations behind.
It really was, yeah. How do we kind of take this and make it scalable in a sense? Because there's only one me, and I mean, we haven't talked about AI cloning yet, but maybe, maybe that's where we end this conversation. But
let's go.
But certainly Mood AI has been more of the product. Yeah. So I guess I'm in 2 companies at the moment, and technically, the kind of registered name for Mood Institute is Mood Systems Proprietary Limited. Okay. What I'm working on with my co-founder Adam, who's incredible, ex-Apple, great product engineer. That's Mood Platforms Proprietary Limited. And it's my hope that these two play well together, where we're kind of dealing with the leadership and the way of how we can make really meaningful, tangible change from a people level in organizations.
Yeah.
And then that powers the platform Mood AI through Mood Platforms. And that's really looking at some of these new conversations that are starting around how do we manage risk and how do we make sure that people are feeling safe every single day at work. And it's my hope that we can really bring those two together. So we've got compliance on one end, but we've also got culture on the other end, and we can kind of bridge them in a way that's meaningful and makes a difference.
Talk to me how it works, like from Mood AI. Like,
Yeah, absolutely. So our whole play really, yeah. I mean, it's essentially, at the moment, our play at the moment is having it app-based first and foremost.
Yep.
And people jump on, and the first question is, how do you feel? It's the big question. Sounds very simple, but very difficult to answer sometimes.
Very much so.
So we have color and emotion with the emojis, all
Well,
based on the research.
I feel like Australia is very easy at answering it. So like, I'm all right.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all
It
right.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what spectrum
Oh,
that is. It's
I'm
like,
all right.
I'm all right.
I'm all right. It's such a non-answer, but it's so true. And it's tricky because I mean, how powerful has Are You OK Day been? It's a fantastic initiative.
Yeah, what a
And
movement.
yet, we do tend to say, yeah, I'm okay, I'm fine.
Yeah.
And it's a tricky one. Great initiative. It is a closed question though, right? Are you okay? It's like yes or no. And then plus, sometimes we're not psychologically safe enough to say I'm not okay, especially at work. Do I lose my job? Is there judgment? Do I get called into HR? And so we mask and we suppress and we do the Aussie thing of like, yeah, I'm okay.
Yeah.
I'm fine. I'm
Yeah.
fine. She'll be right. But I love how do you feel as a question because it's not a closed question, it's an open question. So rather than it being black or white, are you okay? Yes, no.
Yes, no, yeah.
How do you feel? Full color, right? How do you feel? Red, yellow, green, all of these colors, like, and it gives you space to answer openly, knowing that all emotions belong. How do you feel? So that's really the first question. Then we have how's work? So some tags of how work's going. And then that pulls up a psychological safety question based on the compliance, but it's based on how you feel. So it's very personalized, hyper rapid survey, unlike these kind of year-long lagging surveys. And then through that, yeah, you have a chance to chat with Mood in the platform, and that's based on company policies who are kind of pushing people into whether, okay, you might need some employee assistance kind of program stuff, or did you know about this Wellbeing event going on, or, you know, giving contextualized ways of like, okay, well, if this is going on, that actually violates this.
And it's an AI tool that you're engaging with, right? So you're having a conversation with this
With an AI, yeah. And it's
artificial
all
intelligence
complete.
personality.
I think people feel comfortable with that sometimes rather than knowing it's someone, but
Well,
it's all
There's
completely.
a huge rise of people opening up to even ChatGPT and other tools. So
It's the number one use.
it is.
for ChatGPT.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
So-
surprising that that's such a great, and we're putting it into an environment now where it feels, I guess that maybe businesses, people feel like insecure, but it's like there's intent to have that discussion. So maybe you trust it a bit more even.
That's what you'd hope. And that's going to be our continual challenge of how do we build that trust? Because we from day one, we made sure that we, all the data is pretty much stored on device. So we're not even getting, like, that we're very clear about the data we get and that it's anonymized. And we're really trying to have it as almost like we're almost like the wingman for a company and for an employer, where we're the third party saying, hey, we know it's always going to be contentious between employers and employees. Like it's a power dynamic, it's a structure, it's a workplace. Like there's always going to be that tension, maybe healthy tension, but we're also this kind of third party that's like, hey, how can we play nice together? How can we make sure that you're being safe, and how can we be of support? And we kind of bridge that gap with insights and dashboards, and we try to make it fun with music in the dashboard and memes and quotes and stuff that's inspiring, but then also a company dashboard where you can see every single psych safety principle transparently and have that accountability of like, we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to be 100% on all these, but we're being transparent and we're listening and we're reacting and we're making sure that we're responding in a way that, is congruent.
As you say here, you help them feel the feels. Yeah,
Feel the
it gets
feels.
into that kind of vibe coding. Like vibe coding is on there. Arthi, like he's the one that like said it. And maybe other people said it before, but like he was big and popular enough that when he said it, everyone like latches onto it. But whether it's vibe coding or to feel the feels, there is this sense that like with AI, it does let you tap into more of that emotion thing, which is ironic because people are like, oh no, humans are the ones that AI can't feel emotions. No, but it can build a bridge to help us get better at feeling the feels.
Well, unlike
100%.
unlike a form, right? It's the same questions, or maybe they adapt slightly, whereas AI can actually adjust itself, force you to dive into that question a bit more and ask it. Are you related to almost like journaling?
Yes.
Every one of the things you said,
it is.
brushing your teeth. Journaling is like brushing your teeth, is something you said.
It is, yes.
And it's that
mental
link between-
hygiene
yeah,
rather than
mental
dental
hygiene.
hygiene.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Are you saying there should be an AI toothbrush? There probably is one.
There probably
You're not
is,
brushing hard enough.
Yeah,
Love
yeah.
that Margot's super literal with it. It's perfect. AI toothbrush. Write that down on the list of ideas.
Another business.
Yeah, exactly.
You can see how the rats, not the mouse, but the rat is a
That's
trap.
in the brain.
It's a rat mouse trap in my brain. Anyway,
It's so good.
Monkey.
But, exactly. Right on. Well, I love this thought around vibe coding. Maybe we need more vibe leading, right? In that sense, where it's less about this, here's the textbook, we've gone to leadership training, this equals this. Like, what if we are listening to these small cues rather than reacting when it's far too late? What if we're responding in real time? Because it's like when you vibe code in something like Lovable, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, this is great, but this isn't quite right. Let's do it again. Something in real time. You're not waiting to send it to a developer for 3 months later. You kind of change it.
To get
By that
feedback.
point, the product's probably changed, right? But I think if we are vibe leading, if we can call it that, we're listening and reacting in real time, and we're making micro tweaks and micro changes powered by AI.
do you ever talk about you did all this stuff on lyrics and the power of that? I feel like what you've got here, this is like the lyrics of the business. Have you ever brought
That's
that?
so cool. I haven't, and I think I need to pay you for a consultation because
All good, but
that's sick.
that's what it feels like. Feels right. That's what it feels like. All of this stuff that you're bringing together creates. Because imagine if, right now, a business maybe they hear a bit of the music, or they have no sound at all, even worse. But you're actually adding the lyrics on top of it.
So interesting, mate. I think there's something there in the sense that I think compliance and showing up to work, you get paid, you do your job. That's probably the music, right? And every company has a different soundtrack, and we're kind of running to the sound of our own company. Some soundtracks are better than others. Some are, some probably should have never made it to the Billboard Hot 100, but here we are. But then I think lyrics are poetry, right? And a lot of us dismiss poetry as something that's fluffy and, doesn't really belong, because what's it really doing? But our world is powered by art and sense making and storytelling. And when a company doesn't have a story they're telling, and when they're not having that cultural play, we're missing a huge part of it. So I love the analogy. I mean, we've been listening to the music and working to the music for so long. How do we listen closely to the lyrical element?
Well, it wouldn't be possible without stuff like this. So this is all made possible by what you guys are doing. Include all the links, obviously, in this.
Yeah, definitely.
Need to check it out.
There's a quote by Reid Hoffman, and he says, AI will not destroy us. It will, however, expose who we truly are. I feel like, but broadly speaking, it talks to more around the evolution of AI in our current, the building of ChatGPT and the things that we're able to do with it now. But how it's kind of linking into what you're doing, and it's exposing the businesses and the cultures and the failures of what they're doing. And AI is helping to bring that out more than just filling in a form. Having these engaging conversations with people who are going through these emotional challenges or positive experiences within their organizations is bringing out the truth. That AI is helping to bring the truth for this
Make
people.
it transparent. Lovingly exposing.
Lovingly exposed. Yeah, exactly.
But and gently, we try to keep everything really positive. Otherwise, no one's going to buy a product.
Yeah, exactly.
Our organizations are violating your health. It's a really hard step. But it is, it's shining a light on things. And I think at an organizational level, AI is amazing for that, and that's definitely the Mood AI mission. But on a personal level, and I gave a talk on this actually at South by Southwest in Austin last year, just on the topic of emotional artificial intelligence. We've talked a lot about emotional intelligence for the last really 30 years, 1995.
Yep.
It first came into play. The same year as Windows 95 or eBay and Yahoo, but a lot's changed since then of our own kind of in our physical operating systems with our computers, things have changed. But what about our, emotional operating system? How do we, 30 years later, revisit the way that we show up in our self-regulation, self-awareness, motivation, empathy, communication skills. And I think AI is a great way of taking the emotional skills we all know we need, but reminding us when we're falling short, reminding us that maybe we need to get more sleep, we need to go for a run, eat better, reminding us that maybe you've been neglecting this relationship, or did you know that when you have this meeting on a Thursday, but only when it's a sunny day, you feel this way afterwards? Like, how do we use AI to level up our emotional intelligence? How can our emotional intelligence be heightened and become more crystal clear thanks to artificial intelligence? So I think it's a really beautiful intersection rather than it being something that's pushing up against it, which a lot of people go to. They're like, it's taking away from our humanity, which in some ways maybe it is, but how do we use these new technologies to actually support our humanity and make us better, make us more loving, more aware, more attuned?
So true.
I think that's exciting.
There's been a lot of discussions we've had around the impact of creativity and impact on our work and impact on psychology with AI and how we're using it out. It's not necessarily making us stupider, but making us kind of lazier or thinking less about the things that we usually spend time involving ourselves in. What's your thought around that, around like the impact it is happening on a psychological level, particularly because you're a business that is not necessarily impacting them in a negative way for that, but it is an AI organization that focuses around, you know, the health of people. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, eh? I think, I mean, from a productivity lens, right? Like I was just at a conference this week called Wellbeing at Work, and there's so much talk around how businesses can leverage like agentic AI, and then using a lot of these like tools to really kind of get better, you know, productivity and outcomes. But yeah, there is a lot of wariness at the same time, particularly from these same people that care so much about humans and humanity, how that will affect the way that we do our work and the way that we get support. And I think AI is having a little bit of a branding crisis at the moment, just in mainstream media. Yeah, exactly. Do you know, honestly, even in the last couple of months, I've noticed a little shift where, usually, I think a couple of years ago, you'd say AI and people are like, they're cautiously optimistic, but now I think it's reached the kind of, we've had enough stories on like news.com.au or whatever about, okay, someone, you know, takes their life after, you know, a conversation gone wrong with generative AI. And there's so much, added to the general fear that we have globally about change and things going on. I think it's the sentiment, in my opinion, has actually turned negative now. And so it's fascinating to know how we navigate that, where people are more scared than ever. I think we're going to see a real pushback on how is AI becoming a human tool rather than it being just a really cool, fun, you know, it's bringing a lot of mistrust to people that just, you know, they get betrayed by seeing a video that they love that was super cute on TikTok, and then they're like, oh, they find out 3 days later it was AI.
It's funny.
Kind of,
There's a quote here from Sherry Turkle. There's so technology is seductive when it offers meets our human vulnerabilities, and as it turns out, we are invulnerable indeed. We are lonely but fearful of intimacy, digital connections, and the sociable robot may offer the illusion of companionship without the demands of a friendship.
Isn't it interesting, hey?
It's putting our faith in these tools as a
tool, yeah.
It seems so easy, right? If you think about what ChatGPT has done, I was having this conversation with someone else recently. It was the idea that they kind of know what they're doing. Well, they definitely know what they're doing, but you know, they put something out there, understanding that the dangers are there, but the dangers create media speak. It creates that buzz, even if it is negative, which gives it awareness, which makes then people use it. So it's like that darkness, that dark intent, despite the good impacts it could have.
Yeah.
And
it's fascinating, hey? There are definitely both sides, sides.
I think it's like necessary though, like with, okay, so one of the other angles, apart from like the impact on jobs and like the emotions of people when used in a negative way, one of the other like negative kind of things that we would see typically on the news.com.au, whether it's talking about how government departments aren't really taking up Copilot, it's not working, or Deloitte does a stup up, or this law firm does a stup up. There's,
Oh my God.
it's like, you know, we never blame the calculator for doing the wrong thing. Like you use the calculator wrong. Now, the thing is, there's also the argument around bubbles and like this whole concept of like, oh, there's this AI bubble coming. And it's just like, guys, but bubbles, you're looking at it in the wrong way. Everything that's happened, whether it's the space race and all the investment that went into that, but then all the technology that came out of that, the e-commerce and .com bubbles and all these bubbles, which is basically, I reckon that hype, and I just wrote something on this morning, but like hype is the currency that we need for innovation. And the idea that AI is in a bubble, sure, it's in a bubble because we're in this adoption curve where there's all this hype. There'll be the trough of disillusionment, and then we settle. You know,
We'll find a middle ground somewhere.
Find a middle ground, and we always have with technology. Yet the Chicken Little kind of folks that make a name for themselves, just shouting out rather than adding and contributing to society, is always there, and we fall for it each time. We're the common denominator. So I don't think that it will change. I don't think we should change, but I think we should recognize that this is where we're at. It's okay, guys, relax. This is all part of the plan. You know.
The one counterpoint to that, I guess, where you hear a lot of the, you know, the godfather of AI, the Mogul arts of the world, like it is where we're kind of at that precipice right now of where that layer is, whether we are going to level off and do good, or are we going to create the next nuclear bomb, you know, and that could, you know, do lots of bad things to people psychologically, physically, manipulate governments, all that type of stuff. So there is a fine balance between it, right? We all hope that we settle into the positive era, and we do good work for good. And AI can, as you rightly said, and I love the mindset that has, a lot of people have as well, is that it becomes a partner for the work that we do, right? It's an add-on to our creativity, to the work that we do, to, you know, the conversations we have, to the psychology of ourselves. Like it is this thing that can partner with you to make you do so much more and better.
I think so. Which
that.
some would say is like, you know, it's definitely optimistic. Is it overly optimistic? I don't know.
I don't think so.
But and we should never lose our realism. But I think pessimism doesn't really serve anyone too well, or dystopian like thoughts of where you know things are all going. I think it's such an opportunity, and I just think that more than ever, like it's been such a hard sell for a very long time, self-awareness, because like I kind of started the chat with, I was suppressing a lot of my own emotions for a very long time. And you can only do that for so long, because you can never really suppress anything. You're kind of pushing it out sideways. Like the things that you're not wanting to look at it yourself, you're snapping at other
like
people with, or exactly.
It will break.
The bubble will break, right? And it unless we look at our pain, it actually, as Jung says, it kind of determines our life. It pushes us in ways that I think when I look back at my whole music career, it was my desire to be seen and heard and understood. It wasn't until I was able to do that work, it's like, oh my God, it's just a manifestation of this unexamined pain. And so finally we're at a point now where humans, the self-awareness is the tipping point. Like, how are we going to be using this new tech? If we're not doing that inner work, we're going to be using tools like AI for things that aren't aligned with our greater self or humanity's greater self. So I think for me, AI, amazing, exciting, it's going to do great things, but it's never been more important for us to figure out what it is we stand for, to do our work, to push that emotional intelligence, to unlock our own emotional operating system and figure out what it is that we're standing for in the world. What's that impact?
And I love that. The thing I was hinting at is it's AI for good. You
know, for good.
You're building it with purpose to help to drive better future for businesses and individuals, which I think is incredible.
Okay, can I just ask, like, what would you have had Mood AI been around at the time when you were in your formative years as a budding artist, and even well before that, as a teenager? How would you think that you would have used a tool like this if you were growing up now with the same sort of problems, the disconnects in certain spaces, the lack of voice? How would you have used like Mood AI, do you think?
I love that so much. What a fascinating question. I think honestly, if I'm completely truthful, I would have used that tool to name the unnameable, to speak the things that I couldn't speak to anybody else into the world, and use that as a safe space to be seen and heard and understood. And this is why I don't think it's an either or with AI replacing friendships, which it probably can get to that if we're not being balanced. But what it does do for a lot of us is it gives us those first steps in even throwing around some ideas that we may not feel comfortable sharing with a real life human other, but we can try it on for size and actually surf for some of these ideas and things that we might have been suppressing in ourselves. And I would have absolutely used that tool for that. And to be able to have, as we know with some of these tools, they're even trained to be able to have that acceptance, to say, hey, it sounds like you're feeling this way. First thing I want to say to you is that's okay. These tools are trained on some of these best practice therapeutic models, and I certainly would have used it in that way, to be seen and heard and understood in a way that the humans around me at that point couldn't do.
Maybe that's a message for the founders out there, like build something that your younger self would have used or something like that.
I think it's exactly right.
Do you have messages for founders out there? You know, because a lot of founders listen to this, or people that they're not necessarily founders yet, but they've got ideas.
I've got three quick fire question round as we
good.
close.
Hey, let's do
That's
it.
how we close things out really nice.
Fire me up. Let's do it.
So question number one, if you could go back to your early stage of entrepreneurship, what would you do different that leading into where your business is right now, leading where you've gone in your journey?
Yeah, listen to my customers, listen to my potential customers. It's such a cliche, but as innovators, as inventors, you want to be the one thinking of the thing, and it's almost like trying to gaslight your customers to the fact that they want it. How do we start from the very start and have empathy, which is a skill, one of the main skills of emotional intelligence, but how do we build empathy bridges, empathy interviews, listening, understanding the customer and building it to suit them? It's so logical, but as innovators, we often don't do that.
100%. We're trying to move fast and break things. And
Exactly.
we just go, oh shit,
Yeah.
I'm doing this for myself, not for the people.
Drink my Kool-Aid. Here's what I created. You need it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is linking to the question that Mark was about to ask, that one piece of advice that someone gave you going into this that you think is high value for other people going through this journey.
I mean, there's been so much great advice, but, and this probably isn't from one individual, but I've heard it from a lot of people, is like, as an Australian male, it's really hard to answer this, but like answering the question each day, what lights you up? And like, what is it that you can't not do? And so often I can kind of sidetrack and fall into things that, you know, may be a great market or a good opportunity or something that's trendy, but what is it that lights me up? And that requires journaling, reflection, realignment, all the things that we do to have our self-awareness, but feeling into it, feeling it in your body, which sounds very woo, but apparently we have bodies that, you know, my cognitive mind forgets sometimes. Feeling into what is it that really brings me to life and lights me up. And the more we double down on that and do that thing, it ultimately leads us to the biggest impact we're going to make. So, yeah.
It's funny when you say the light me up thing. The first thing that comes to my head is has anyone been on the Huntrix train now recently from the Demon Hunters?
Yeah.
The Golden song.
Golden is what lights you up. Oh, there we go. Such a lyrics guy.
It is, I love it.
Mark's like, never heard of it, but know the tune.
I have.
He's playing it cool, so I don't know.
Oh, it's great. I have heard it. I can admit that. And K-pop, come on, let's go.
Tools that you're using, what's something that is influencing a lot of the work that you're doing right now in the AI, from the AI space? So
as far as like physical, like,
actual
tech
coding development or in like discussions, like what's something that is influencing a lot of what you're doing right now?
Absolutely. So, my co-founder Adam is definitely the tech guy, so he has a pretty big tech stack, and my tools are a little less sophisticated.
That's all right.
I'm a big...
Probably more relatable, I'm not gonna lie.
Maybe. I'm more of an Airtable guy, to be honest, and so able to plug and play that with some of the workflow we're doing. And we definitely have our daily synergy with Slack, which is great. And Slack, being that big Salesforce company, as I saw from their Salesforce demonstration this week, they're bringing a whole lot of interesting features in there now. So it's fascinating to see how the agentic angle and all of the plugins work with these new tools.
Yep.
And but I'm really I'd like to have two different modalities. I've got two desks in my place at the moment. I've got my analog desk and I've got my digital desk. So digital is all these digital tools and obviously making sure everything's synced with the cloud and working well. But for me, there is nothing better than pen and paper or a whiteboard and all this stuff. And then what I do at the moment, I take a photo and send it to ChatGPT, summarize it, give it back to me, throw it back, let's see opinions. But how do we fuse the analog and the digital, which for me is very similar to the inner world, the tangible, and some of this new technology. So they're my workflows.
Excellent. No,
that's it. Great.
Awesome. Is there
quick fire.
anything you want to plug quickly talk about
Oh.
Mood or checkout?
Yeah, look, jump on Mood AI. We've got the website Mood.ai. We're actually in the middle of a bit of a rebrand at the moment. We'll always have Mood AI as part of the product, but yeah, looking at how we can better communicate our message to people too. But yeah, so things are probably going to change, but if you head to Mood.ai, you'll land somewhere, which will be linked to the stuff we're doing.
Hopefully the right place.
Exactly,
Great place to
exactly.
follow. We'll have that in the show notes, but for now, thank you so much for your time.